If you like basketball shoes, listen because you don't want to miss this. Anta has two new basketball shoes that will either blow your mind or raise your eyebrows. The high top shoe is called the Anta Sneakerverse Eclosion Type 1, while the low top shoe is called the Anta Sneakerverse Eclosion Type 2. These are not signature shoes, but they could easily pass off as high tier just from the looks alone. You see, I've been writing sneaker stories and posting shoe reviews for more than 10 years. Now, if you've been following Anta long enough like I do, you'd probably already know that the brand has been ramping its sneaker designs in the last 5 years. The Anta Sneakerverse Eclosion series is the brand's latest attempt at testing the fringes of sneaker design while doubling down on the tech specs. What makes these new basketball shoes compelling goes beyond the name. The high-top Eclosion Type 1 actually packs a punch in terms of solid performance features, although you're probably thinking that the shoe looks oddly familiar. You'll want to hear more about this, so let's have a quick conversation. The first basketball shoe is the Anta Sneakerverse Eclosion Type 1. It's a high-top silhouette that on first look will probably remind you of the high-top Nike Kobe 9 Elite and the Air Jordan 28. The extended collar seems proprioceptive, meaning it is expected to move with every bend of your feet instead of significantly restricting it. That's because the material looks thin and has multiple perforations. What makes it possible is the upper called CN fiber. This seems to be backed by a thin and perforated fuse layer along with vertical thread overlays from the toe box to the midfoot. Meanwhile, the cushioning setup consists of one pod of Nitro Edge Pro foam unit at the back and one lattice foam pod at the front, both encased on a different foam material. A dual-pronged plate that looks like carbon fiber sits below the midsole, while the sides are supported by Anta logo-shaped plastic pieces with carbon fiber panels. The outsole is equally interesting. The shoe has a decoupled outsole setup which seems to consist of different rubber compounds. The traction uses a modified wave pattern and the grooves look thick and widely spaced. What's more interesting is that the shoe sits noticeably high off the ground and that the front section of the outsole has a gaping overextension towards the midfoot. While the base of this Eclosion Type 1 looks wide enough, the overall stability could be questionable. The Eclosion Type 2, however, doesn't seem to have that. Here's why. The Eclosion Type 2 is the other anti-sneakerverse basketball shoe. This is the shoe and it could be more stable than the Type 1 due to a combination of two things. One is that the shoe uses a one-piece rubber outsole instead of a decoupled setup. This Type 2, however, uses a modified fingerprint pattern for the outsole unlike the Type 1. The treads here have narrower spacing but are still thick. The other factor is that the midsole does not have a carved out midsection. Instead, it's one straight piece, although like the Type 1, it also serves as a carrier for one large pod of Nitro Edge Pro foam and another pod called Lattice foam that is encased in another Nitro Edge Pro foam. But instead of a dual-pronged plate, there's a bottom-loaded shank with three cord-out sections. Supporting this setup at the sides are two plastic panels with a text overlay lattice. Perhaps more importantly, the midsole itself sits lower to the ground. Now, the most obvious difference is that the Eclosion Type 2 is a low-top silhouette. The upper material mainly consists of a textile upper in varying implementations in different sections. The lacing setup uses punched eyelets with looped cables at the sides for an additional tug at the sides. There's also rows of what look like matchsticks poking out from the Achilles section. It's a strange but unique feature and I don't see what function it actually serves. But perhaps the more important question is, what is Eclosion in the first place and what in the world is Anta Sneakerverse? Here's what you need to know. Eclosion is the design inspiration and model name for Anta's latest basketball shoes. It is basically the term for a biological process where an adult insect emerges from its pupal case. It's like a larva emerging from the egg. The design is the brainchild of sneaker designer Joe Chu. Joe is not new to the sneaker space as he previously designed shoes for Li Ning, including the Way of Wade line. The Eclosion lineup is his latest creative output, finding space in the ATSV. ATSV, or Anta Sneakerverse, is not your typical sneaker store. It is basically Anta's flagship concept store that features sneaker designs that take things to another level, including basketball shoe designs. It offers an immersive space for sneaker enthusiasts, as the concept store is also meant to showcase the forefront of Anta's footwear designs through a shopping experience like no other. You're probably getting the drift. The Anta Sneakerverse Eclosion Type 1 and 2 will most likely be limited and exclusive, just like the Anta Kai 1 Sneakerverse colorway. Right now, we've seen 7 colorways for the Eclosion Type 1. For the Eclosion Type 2, we've seen 6, but there could be more. But after all's been said and done, there's no escaping the question. Does the Eclosion Type 1 look like the combination of the high-top Nike Kobe 9 Elite and the Air Jordan 28? I think the resemblance is there, but I don't think that the designer and Anta are both ready to admit it. Whether the resemblance is intentional or otherwise is anybody's guess at this point. Either way, the one thing that makes the Eclosion Type 1 different is the gaping over extension at the back of the forefoot section, which, if you think about it, actually echoes the inverse Anta logo we saw in the Anta Scalpel 1. Which reminds me that there's actually more to the Eclosion series than the Type 1 and 2. You have this orange themed shoe that is said to be inspired by ladybugs, and this white and blue basketball shoe that is not only inspired by butterflies but is also rumored to be the true Anta Scalpel 2. More about them in a separate video, but in the meantime, let me know what you think. Hey man, thanks for watching. You can support me by joining my channel membership. Thanks, and I hope to see you on the next one.